Now, America is paying tribute to those who were killed on the 11th of September 2001. 20 years ago, the United States witnessed the worst terrorist attack on its soil. 3 planes crashed into landmark American buildings, the Twin Towers at the World Trade Center and the Pentagon. The 4th hijacked plane was bravely diverted by the people on board, crashing into an abandoned strip mine in Pennsylvania. That day, nearly 3,000 people lost their lives. Today, U.S. President Joe Biden, along with First Lady Jill Biden and former Presidents Bill Clinton and Barack Obama, were present at the World Trade Center Memorial in New York, where moments of silence were observed corresponding to the timings of the attack. Now, Biden led the memorial service. Families and friends of the victims of the attacks were all present in New York City, where the names of all those who died on that deadly morning were read out.
And my husband, Joseph Rena Jr.
And my uncle, James Francis Quinn.
Peter Paul Apollo.
Meanwhile, in the Pentagon, the 3rd attack site, American defense chiefs and officials gathered to pay their respects to the brave servicemen and people who were killed by the al-Qaeda attacks.
For those of us in uniform, for our families who have suffered and sacrificed along our side, for those who have supported us, these have been incredibly emotional, exhausting, and trying years. We are all now, this very day, very conflicted with feelings of pain and anger, sorrow and sadness, combined with pride and resilience.
Now, almost a quarter of the citizens who we defend today were born after 9/11. And that includes thousands of our outstanding young service members. And many of the 13 brave men and women who just days ago gave their lives to save others in Afghanistan were babies back in 2001. And as Secretary of Defense and a veteran of the Afghan war, let me underscore again how much we owe to all those who fought and to all those who fell while serving our country in Afghanistan. As the years march on, we must ensure that all our fellow Americans know and understand what happened here on 9/11, and in Manhattan, and in Shanksville, Pennsylvania.
After New York, President Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, and former President George Bush attended the memorial service in Pennsylvania at the Flight 93 Memorial. The memorial is built at the exact site where the 4th hijacked plane crashed after the people on board forcefully diverted the route from Washington, sacrificing their lives. Speaking at the memorial, George Bush called on Americans to bring back the unity of 2001, a time when Americans embraced faith amid religious bigotry dominating the world.
In the weeks and months following the 9/11 attacks, I was proud to lead an amazing, resilient, united people. When it comes to the unity of America, those days seem distant from our own. Malign force seems at work in our common life that turns every disagreement into an argument, and every argument into a clash of cultures. So much of our politics has become a naked appeal to anger, fear, and resentment. That leaves us worried about our nation and our future together.
Vice President Kamala Harris also echoed the importance of unity as she paid her respects to the victims of the deadly attack.
On the days that followed, September 11th, 2001, we were all reminded that unity is possible in America. We were reminded also that unity is imperative in America. It is essential to our shared prosperity, to our national security, and to our standing in the world. And by unity, I don't mean uniformity. We had differences of opinion in 2001, as we do in 2021. And I believe that in America, our diversity is our strength.
Now, for more on this, WION correspondent Susan Tehrani is joining us live from New York, from outside the 9/11 memorial. Good evening to you, Susan. Now, of course, a very poignant day for America, 20 years after the horrifying terror attack. What is the mood on the ground there today?
Face me here, but just get behind her.
So Alice said, right now I'm standing outside the 9/11 Memorial and Museum, but also outside of Ground Zero. And right now behind me is what a lot of our viewers might be familiar with, which is Polly's Push. Polly basically has a cart. He's a former flight attendant, a retired flight attendant, who pushed a food cart, an airplane food cart, from August 21st from Boston Logan Airport on foot to here, Ground Zero. He just arrived at Ground Zero right now, honoring the flight attendants who lost their lives on the American Airline Flight 77, United Airline Flight 93, American Airline Flight 11, and United Airline Flight 175 on September 11th, 2001. And you know, he's basically right now with a number of other flight attendants, and this is just, you know, one of the many symbolic gestures that Americans are taking to commemorate those tragic terrorist events of September 11th. And I want to really stand aside and show you how people have gathered to, first of all, take a look at this cart that has traveled from Boston to New York City, arriving at Ground Zero around noon here at this point, and also the crowd that's outside of the 9/11 memorial, which under normal circumstances the ceremony would have been filled with more individuals, but because of COVID restrictions this year is only with the families of 9/11 victims. But nonetheless, you really see people not just from New York, but from across the United States coming here to pay their tribute. So, you know, the mood somber with the backdrop of the grim realities that have happened in the last few weeks, politically, geopolitically. But today, really, you see a spirit of camaraderie, somewhat unity, a reflection of what happened in the past 20 years, and not only for the people that were alive, but for a generation that doesn't know any world before 9/11.
Now, what about the victims and just the general Americans? How do they feel about the withdrawal and the Afghanistan Taliban takeover?
It's incomprehensible if you can imagine, you know, 20 years after the war on terror, the same group that America went to fight for aiding and abetting the terrorists that killed so many innocent lives is now taking power and raising a flag in a country that Americans lost so many lives in. And I think there is a general consensus, and most Americans would agree, that it didn't have to end this way. And because of faulty policies of this administration, the United States is in a position where it has to go back and think whether or not Afghanistan is a safe haven for terrorism moving forward. Were the lives lost in vain?
Susan, thank you very much for being with us on this broadcast and bringing us the latest on this, of course, very sad day.
WION, now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.